A couple of weeks ago, the British Embassy in Bratislava reached out to me and said that they'd been watching the Blorecast, and would I like to meet the ambassador next time he's in Košice. Now, I am not nearly as social as I may seem on these videos, but I thought this would be a wonderful excuse to get out of the house. So this week we both had lunch together. His name is Bilal Zahid, and he very generously agreed to do a little interview in the Pilsner Urquell pub here in Košice. We talked about learning Slovak, what he's made of the country so far, and how his Slovak language skills once saved him from being eaten by a bear.
Maybe we should start with the basics of how long have you been here and what do you do here?
Great, excellent. So I started as British ambassador in September, 22nd of September actually. So I just passed my 6-month probation or 6-month anniversary. So yes, it's been a fantastic 6 months. And I've managed to travel to all of the 8 regions of Slovakia as well. So every 8 kraj. This is my second time in Košice.
Very good. Okay. And how are you doing with the language?
Oof. So Slovenčino is veľmi ťažký jazyk. It's a difficult language. I did have the privilege of learning Slovak before I was posted here. So in the UK diplomatic service, we have certain jobs that come with language training. So I had 7 months of language training before coming out here. So yes, it's certainly, it's as you know, as a language teacher, it never stops. You're always learning.
Absolutely. Do you also speak other languages?
Yeah, a little bit. So I did some Spanish at school to GCSE. I tried French, but that got a bit too complicated for me. And then at home, my parents are from Pakistan. So I also picked up a bit of Urdu and Punjabi as well. So, but it's one of those languages where you have to then be in an environment where people are speaking it, and then you pick it up again.
Do you have any tips for language learning generally, either English or Slovak or anything?
Yeah. So with Slovak, so I had lessons, 3 hours of lessons, in the morning, and then I was set homework. What I really tried to do was kind of look up other sources of the language. So I found some good people on YouTube who were teaching the Slovak language. I looked up some cartoons, just other sources outside of my teaching environment. And also, not my teacher's voice, so a different Slovak voice. So I think that was really good. Podcasts as well. So there's some podcasts nowadays on Spotify, for example, where you can find Slovak teachers. So just putting that on and
exposure,
exactly.
Comprehensible inputs.
Yeah, that's a technical term. So that's what I tried. Unfortunately, I don't think there's as many resources for Slovak compared to other languages. I think that was a challenge.
Yeah, I think in English there are loads of simplified books and stuff at different levels, and that is a real resource for people. In Slovakia, I know when I was learning, I wanted something like that and couldn't find it. It was a long time ago. And they got these little kids colouring books. And this is where I think I first learned about Slimak.
Yeah.
And they were sort of Janko, Hrashko and fairy tales like that. And I was thinking, oh yeah, they're for kids. The language will be easy.
No.
It's not. It's really not. It's all sort of diebolo, tambolo, and then really quite archaic language at times, weird word order. And no, I think I'd prefer something like a reader. A good reader would be really helpful as well. And what have you enjoyed most about being here?
Oh my goodness, where do I start? I mean, I just love the diversity of the country in terms of the nature. So I mentioned I was studying Slovak, and I did 1 month's immersion training in Banská Bystrica. So I spent the month of June in Slovakia. So I got to experience the beauty that Slovakia has to offer in terms of the hiking. So visit Dumbier, Donna Valley. I'm from Northern Ireland. I was born and raised there, so I really appreciate the outdoors. And then just recently, I was skiing in Jasna. So I think Slovakia has these amazing natural gems throughout the country. I was in Blorecast just yesterday, UNESCO World Heritage Site. So I think just exploring the beauty of the country has been incredible. And then the people, and obviously you came and then you met a Slovak and married a Slovak. So the people here are really friendly and welcoming, very forgiving for my bad Slovak. So when I speak in Slovak, they really do appreciate it. So yeah, it's been a really a positive start.
Super. Is there anything you found particularly challenging apart from the language?
Apart from the language, and we've just finished a delicious lunch. So it's definitely the abundance and richness of food is a challenge to my diet, I would say. So carbs, I love the carbs. So, and the part of my role as well, I'm often traveling or you're doing events in the evening. So just trying to keep a healthy lifestyle, is a challenge. It's a good challenge to have, I think. So as I've settled into the country, I've kind of established my own routine. I have a personal trainer at the gym. Sometimes I walk into the office, especially with the weather getting better. Sometimes I practice Slovak with my personal trainer as well. So he might kind of, teach me certain words or expressions in Slovak. So that's also, killing two birds with one stone.
And really,
it's a say in Slovakia, killing two flies with one stone.
with one rana, one wound or something.
Yeah.
Just coming back to the Slovak. So, like when you're speaking, do you find that what's the best advice for people trying to speak a foreign language?
And I think speaking's one of the most difficult parts because it's I think my passive knowledge is good, so I can read stuff. But speaking's always requiring confidence. So I think, firstly, just give it a try. And that's easier said than done because it can be quite intimidating, or people look at you with a blank face. That can be quite demoralizing. So I think, firstly, just give it a go, maybe in a safe environment. I found recording myself really good as well. So for pronunciation, so in the run up to my Slovak exams, I would have a presentation. So I'd record it and just kind of listen back to it with the words and just kind of,
what a good idea.
Pronunciation.
Yeah, I think I'm guilty of not doing enough of that. And first of all, I have a bit of an Eastern accent, and secondly, I'm a bit lazy with my vowel sounds. So
okay, that's interesting what you said. So Eastern Slovakia had a different accent than
stress on the penultimate syllable instead of the first syllable.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I don't even notice, honestly. Like
that's quite different because I've been taught. My teacher was always the first syllables, like Bratislava. Yeah, always a first syllable.
Bratislava, Nemocnica. I can't not do it. It's just, and I'm not saying it's far from perfect, but I think when people listen to my Slovak, who are not from the East,
yes,
they, first of all, they think, well, obviously he's not Slovak. There are some problems with the pronunciation, but the stress really catches them. They think, and part of it's probably my poor stress generally, and I think a little bit might be the accent sliding. And maybe one more question, like you said you've been to the 8 regions of Slovakia, so you've been around the country, and do you notice big differences between the regions or between Bratislava and the provinces, so to speak?
Yeah, so one of the first pieces of advice I was given was get out of Bratislava and travel. So I think definitely the different culture is really interesting. So in Bratislava, obviously, like Košice, it's quite a metropolitan city with lots of head of companies, people from overseas, whereas I lived in Banska Bystrica, so I lived actually in a village of Kraliki, just outside, what means Kralik means rabbit, rabbit village. And there it was a lot more rural. So definitely, you couldn't get away with not speaking a bit of Slovak. So that's kind of diversity of, the people kind of varies between depending on where you are.
For sure.
And there's obviously a big Ukrainian population in different parts, particularly in the east. The Roma population. So last time I was here, I visited Helunik Devit, and some of the Roma people living there. So I think Slovakia is probably a bit more diverse than people think. And of course, we've not talked about the Hungarian minority as well, and I'm hoping to do more travel to the south of the country. Because Slovakia, I guess, in history was a crossroads for all these different nationalities and the cultures. So I definitely could enjoy kind of witnessing that when I travel around.
There really is a lot of variation that I'm not aware of because I don't travel around very much.
Indeed. I think people find that about the United Kingdom as well. So, many Slovaks they might know London or Manchester, and that's so interesting. Being from Northern Ireland, having studied in Scotland, just being able to kind of talk about the different diversity of culture in the United Kingdom has also been, I think, eye-opening for lots of Slovaks as well.
Yeah. You were saying you have as a relative in Wales as well, so you've got like a foot in every camp.
Exactly. Yeah, got every nation it's out there. Yeah.
Indeed.
You've lived here for how long?
27 years.
27.
Nearly 28 in September, I think.
Yeah, right. So I'm 6 months. So what would your top tips be for a Brit, kind of, you to Slovakia or anyone watching who wants to visit?
I think you need to get out and, as people told you need to get out of the place and get out into the countryside because that's probably the best part of Slovakia, I think, is the mountains and the forests and the fact that's what Slovakia has in spades that maybe the UK doesn't have quite so much because there's so many more people there. So the lower population density and just the countryside is fantastic. So that and the food for me. And those are the two things that I spend my time doing.
Yeah.
Bird watching in the countryside, and eating. Great. And the food is delicious. Yeah, I can imagine it might be a challenge for a diet.
That's a perfect combination though. So you're outdoors, getting exercise, and then you can enjoy the food.
Let's not pretend I actually, when I'm bird watching, I walk a few steps and then I'll stop and listen.
And you listen.
And then I'll walk another few steps, so it's not really that good.
Have you ever spotted a bear or a wolf?
Great question. No, in fact, but I have seen wild boars.
A wild boar.
And they ran across there was sort of some snuffling, and I thought, a little bit careful here. So I started making a bit more noise, and they ran. It was some little piggies, some little piglets, and then the parents, I assume. And they ran across the path in front of me and disappeared into the undergrowth.
Incredible.
So
yeah, I survived. I was on a walk. I went for, in between my lessons or after my lessons, I'd go for a walk in the country in Kraliki, and I'd be listening to a podcast or, just doing something in Slovak and just, relaxing. And I came across a sign that read, Pozor, medved. I was like, oh, I think I know. Pozor means warning. Medved means bear. So, immediately removed my headphones and was more alert.
Right.
So that's definitely an example where knowing the language was quite...
I think that would be useful, yeah. I've been commenting recently that I think ticks are far more of a danger than bears in the forest. But I have to say that people have pointed out again, this idea of it's different in different places. In the Košice region, I'm pretty sure that the bear population doesn't come into contact with the human population much. But that might be different in other places. So you're at Banska, for example, I don't know, but your mileage may vary or no. But ticks, nasty little beasts.
Yeah, like midgies in Scotland.
Yeah, but midges are more annoying, maybe, but ticks carry various diseases that midges maybe don't.
Excellent. And then just finally, kind of while I'm in Košice, kind of anything I should kind of see or do off the beaten track, because obviously there's a lot I read in the guidebooks, but any secret tips or hidden gems that you'd like to share with me or anyone watching?
Do you like bird watching?
I'd give it a go. I'd try. Yeah.
There's some lovely places around Košice. Padinské rybníky is great for bird watching. It's a fish ponds where they carp and stuff, and lots of birds there. Really, really lovely countryside. Also, Bresto is to the north towards Prešov. Some beautiful countryside that I think people might easily miss. Over to us, even closer in town, in Kabachani, where the zoo is. Definitely pay that a visit. You get a lovely view. I would go with those things, the natural things.
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So that was Bilal Zahid, British ambassador to Slovakia. He's a really nice guy. It was fantastic to meet him, and he's obviously really taken with Slovakia, which is always good to see. If you've enjoyed this, please do subscribe and leave comments. It really helps more than you can imagine. And if you're a British diplomat in Central Europe and you'd like to go for a beer or perhaps birdwatching, get in touch. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.